Welcome back to the IBFP. Here's your host, Boxing New.
Fanboys, be advised, this video contains the absolute truth, may cause hurt feelings, and the need to thumbs down the video. Errol Spence Jr., does he really want to fight the best? Let's break it down. You know, I got a comment from a fanboy the other day, Saul VTX, and he states, IBFP, instead of giving props to Errol Spence Jr. for wanting to fight the best, you and your followers are just talking trash about how pointless this fight with Canelo and Spence could possibly be, how he just wants to cash out, how he doesn't have the skills, and so on. Really, man? Supposedly you're a true fan, but with this video, I clearly see that you're not. You're just a typical Canelo lover, and no, I'm not a Spence or Canelo fan, but I give respect to Spence for wanting to fight the best. Now, that's a lot that you said. You made a lot of accusations about me, but you also stated that, Spence of wanting to fight the best. So since you think that I'm not a true fan of boxing, since you think that, I'm being biased, what we're going to do in this segment is we're only going to use Errol Spence's words. We're not going to use my words. We're not going to use my thoughts, my feelings. We're going to go and rely directly on what Errol Spence Jr. said out of his own mouth. And you make the determination. So let's start with this. Errol Spence Jr. said Terence Crawford was on the wrong side of the street as to the reason why that him and Terence Crawford hasn't fought. And this was over 2 years ago. So I find it funny that if this guy wants to fight the best, and the two best welterweights, especially at that time, was Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, and he said the reason why he couldn't fight the best was because Terence Crawford was on the wrong side of the street. But right now, Canelo Alvarez is on the wrong side of the street. See, what you understand is Canelo Alvarez is not a PBC fighter. So it's okay for you to fight Canelo Alvarez, but not Terence Crawford? It doesn't make any sense. If one's on the wrong side of the street, wouldn't they both be? Let's be honest. And then Errol Spence said again, out of his own mouth, Terence Crawford, this was 3 years ago. If you get that belt, we can make that fight happen. It's been 3 years and that fight has not happened. Now, he's never once told Mikey Garcia, get that belt and that fight can happen. No, he took Mikey Garcia right on because he called him out. But Terence Crawford called him out. So is Mikey Garcia the best? Or is Terence Crawford the best at 147? Who's a better fighter, more proven and considered one of the best fighters at 147? Is it Mikey Garcia or Terence Crawford? It's absolutely Terence Crawford. He's a world champion. He's undefeated. And he got nothing but knockouts since he's been at 147. Mikey Garcia, on the other hand, has lost literally every round in his first fight at 147. And before he fought Spence, he had proven nothing and not even had a minute at 147. So if you want to fight the best, and you're requiring all this for Terence Crawford to get in the ring, it doesn't make any sense. His words are contradictory. He also offered Danny Garcia the fight and took it before he got into a car accident. This is a Danny Garcia who isn't a world champion at 147, but Terence Crawford is. So you're saying Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia are better than Terence Crawford because he only wants to fight the best? These are Errol Spence's words. Because remember, Errol Spence said, get that belt and we can make the fight happen. But Danny Garcia nor Mikey Garcia had a belt and he extended offers. Let's be honest. And then let's not forget that Errol Spence Jr. has stated the easy road. He said, to Terence Crawford's own face, when Crawford called him out to his face, Errol Spence Jr. said he'd rather take the easy road and knock out Sean Porter. Sean Porter, who he arguably lost to. At least one judge saw him losing that fight to Sean Porter. And not only that, it's a controversial fight because if we score the fight, we saw Errol Spence getting dominated within the first 6 rounds. So whether you want to believe it or not, at the end of the day, this guy said he wanted to take an easier opponent than Terence Crawford and Sean Porter. So how does he want to fight the best? It simply doesn't make sense. They were both champions, but Terence Crawford was the only fighter that was undefeated and pound for pound in his weight class, and he still hasn't fought him. He literally makes every single excuse. These are his words. Easy road. Get that belt. And he's on the wrong side of the street. This is not what I think. This is not how I feel. These are facts, and these come directly from Errol Spence Jr. See, if you listen closely, you hear. He's telling you he doesn't want to fight this man. When will you understand or get it? And as far as Canelo Alvarez and Errol Spence, you think a come-forward fighter with no head movement is going to compete with Canelo? He's food for Canelo Alvarez. You just need to be honest and unbiased.